he was mad because he had sent an artist.
Yes, Hans Holbein
Yeah,
Younger.
to paint her. And pressure was put on him by the forces that wanted the alliance with the Protestants to make her look most attractive.
Which is why she was painted from the front instead of from the side.
And he wished to have a real image of her, and he was disappointed upon her arrival.
Because they were using German standards of beauty, which were different culturally from English ones. So he dressed
romantic, Mr.
Huh?
Why it's called romantic?
Tell me.
Romantic what?
Go ahead.
No, but just tell me because
No, tell me.
from romance, does it come from romance?
Yes, it does.
It does?
It does. And it comes from the same root word. In Roman times, the concept was there were marriages clearly made for political and economic reasons in ancient Rome, but the idea of romantic love, Roman love, was valued. And then as the Dark Ages come on, that becomes less important. The idea of marrying either for station or marrying someone who was healthy so that you could conceive children is the most important thing. And so marriage became a business arrangement and a contract. To the point we were discussing earlier where the consummation had to have witnesses. It was usually the fathers to prove that they were really married. It's the code of chivalry that actually begins the process of resurrecting romantic love. Romantic love was written about by poets, those crazy people, right? And it became a pure theatrical love. So the idea was that romantic love was idealized, and that was considered the purest form of love.
Leave your lives, it's the poets. They're coming to kill us all with their songs.
Yes.
Rhymes. Ooh.
Yes. And the knight was supposed to conduct himself in a manner to be worthy of his lady. So the idea of it with the knights was that you were supposed to pick someone above your station. And when you pick someone above your station, you were...
That wasn't meant to be that. This is East German and this is Bulgarian from the Cold War era.
There we go.
So
Yeah, he used to own one of those hats.
Yeah.
Oh, GoldenEye's becoming real.
All right, let's continue.
Ushanka. Ushanka from ucho, a ear, because it covers your
Years it comes down, yeah.
It comes down, and that's how it's called in Bulgaria. But I believe this is a Russian actually. Soviet.
are you sure?
Yes.
He was in the Bulgarian army, I'd go.
No, this is a German one.
East German?
This is the East German.
Oh, that's East German. This must be Bulgarian.
This is Bulgaria.
Yeah.
This is for the GIs. This is for the.
All right, let's get back on
For
topic.
the infantry. Used
Continuing.
we used to.
So, the idea was the knight was supposed to carry himself in a way that made him worthy of a lady above his station. And so he would pick a lady, he would publicly admit that she was sort of who he was living up to. And like when they would have tournaments and stuff, he would salute her and recognize her. But the thought was that she was far too important, too high a station to ever be involved with him, right? So he's picking someone who couldn't be a true romantic interest. And the idea was he was supposed to conduct himself in such a way as to show he was worthy of her, even though he would never be
Can I
considered
say
worthy of
one
her.
thing?
Huh?
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Most knights who actually acted like that were usually kind of it depends on the kind of knight, because like knight errants are usually horrible people and actually not knights, like they fake being knights to get more status, but in reality were just like guys who said they were knights. And then there were also knights who were descended from rich families, but were like, third sons who just decided to be knights.
Well, I mean, that goes on with everything. Von Steuben, who trained Washington's army at Valley Forge, came in and said, I was a general in the Prussian army. He was a sergeant major in the Prussian army. He lied. The knight could declare his love, but another action corrupted the love and made it vile and could lead to death. So, what refuels anew sort of the emergence of what we conceive as modern love is music. Of course, you have people who are minstrels traveling from town to town, city to city, singing poems about love and stories of knightly love and romantic love and appropriate romantic love. Some of these guys become extremely famous. They become like rock stars back in Renaissance Italy, and hundreds and sometimes thousands of people would roll out to hear them, and the lords would compete on getting the best minstrels to come in and visit them, and then they would host parties, and if you were important enough, you got invited. It turns to secular topics like heroic deeds and heroes. Themes of nature and chivalric love also enter songs. By the 1700s, lower class people began to court and date and select their partners. It's okay. The idea of arranged marriages are never accepted in the United States. However, station and wealth were major considerations. And the girl's father still had the final say. And this goes on until really the very early 1900s. If you wished to marry, you had to ask the father. Now, most fathers said, "You have my approval if she agrees." So in reality, most of the time, the females actually had a veto. And that's how it normally worked. But if the father said no, she was out of luck. All right? More receptive romantic, the Victorian age becomes even more receptive of romantic love and embraces the concept. The marriage is still primarily for producing and raising children, and women held to very strict concepts on sex. We're realizing now it's not as strict as we thought, but the idea that a lot of women had premarital relations, but they tended to marry that person. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Wait, Mr. Turner.
Yeah.
I think my favorite weird, like Victorian, prudish thing is that women weren't allowed to eat too much at dinner because it was believed that if a woman had a strong appetite, then that she actually needed to have sex. So it was actually scandalous for a woman to eat so much. So they would actually just kind of pick at their food because otherwise it would be seen as scandalous. I'm not kidding.
I didn't realize that. Look, a female who engaged in activities with a male and did not marry them was frequently considered unmarriable. And there's a pretty well-known story in the South, the Hampton sisters. The Hampton he owned 16 full plantations.
Wow.
Wade Hampton was one of the richest men in the United States. His son actually did all kinds of cool things. He was a Confederate general, a governor, and he's the person who invented weightlifting. But Wade Hampton III, who was a Confederate general, had 3 sisters. And the 3 sisters, it turns out, were molested when they were young by their uncle, who was the governor of South Carolina. And in order to keep his brother from becoming president, their father, the girl's father, had proof that this relationship had gone on, and he would show it to appropriate individuals so that no one would back his political career. But no one would marry the girls. Even though they were, relatively attractive young ladies who were insanely wealthy, no one would marry them because they considered them soiled. So that was the reason why, if you found out your daughter or your sister had been naughty with some dude and he tries to take off, he would go get him with a gun and bring him back and have a shotgun wedding. Because
that's where the term comes from.
Oh no, it is, and it happened because that's considered her only chance for a marriage now, is with him. So now, obviously, not everyone holds to these standards, and we can talk about that, but that tends to be it. In the 1920s, you start to see women sort of asserting their rights. to choosing their partners. You get this women's liberation movement thing going, and that's when it changes. Right?